All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating story about modern partnership. We're looking at how Egypt is forging a whole new era of cooperation across the African continent. We'll be digging into major projects in agriculture, energy, and even culture to see what this collaboration actually looks like on the ground. It's a pretty big strategic shift, so let's get right into it.
You know, this one sentence really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. This isn't just about high-level diplomacy or handshakes. We're talking about tangible projects that are making a real, measurable impact. So the big question is, how exactly is Egypt playing this pivotal role?
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the big idea, partnership for growth. Then we'll get into the specifics with three key sectors: agriculture, energy, and culture. And finally, we'll pull back to look at what all of this really means in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a really foundational piece of this puzzle, agriculture. It's kind of the bedrock for so much of this cooperation, a fundamental area where sharing knowledge is literally transforming communities from the ground up.
This project in Sudan is a perfect example of the long game here. I mean, look at that. It started way back in 2010, and it's still going strong. So you can see this isn't just some short-term investment. It's about building a deep, collaborative relationship right there on the banks of the Nile, sharing technology and know-how.
And what's really cool is how this actually works. It's not just about writing a check or sending over some equipment. Egyptian specialists are actually traveling, getting on the ground, and working side by side with local Sudanese farmers. They're in the fields together, introducing modern irrigation, and the result is a direct boost in what they can grow.
And the results? Well, they really do speak for themselves. This kind of hands-on cooperation has led to a massive 35% increase in food production in these areas. It's just a powerful reminder of how a targeted partnership can tackle huge issues like food security and deliver real, tangible outcomes.
And this isn't just happening in Sudan. The success there is basically being used as a blueprint that's now expanding. We're seeing a major presence in Tanzania, for instance, where experts are leading similar projects in both agriculture and water management. It really points to a clear, continent-wide strategy.
All right, let's switch gears and see how this partnership model is playing out in another absolutely critical area, energy. Here, the whole focus is on powering progress and, building a sustainable future together.
So the whole strategy here is built on a really important shift in thinking. Instead of sticking with fossil fuels, which can often create dependency, the investment is pouring into renewable energy. And that does two things at once. It helps meet the continent's growing need for power, and it creates brand new jobs right at home.
A perfect example of this in action is what's happening between Egypt and Kenya. Thanks to Egyptian investment, these huge solar panel projects have been set up in Kenya. And we're not just talking about powering a few local towns. These projects are big enough to help support energy markets across all of East Africa.
And beyond just clean energy, think about the economic ripple effect here. More than 5,000 jobs have been created because of these renewable energy projects. It's an incredible example of how investing in green tech is also a powerful engine for creating jobs and opportunity.
Okay, so we've talked about what's happening in the fields and on the power grids, but there's another, just as vital kind of bridge being built here, a cultural one. Let's take a look at how art is being used to connect a continent.
At the heart of this is the Egypt International Festival for the Arts. It was started back in 2018, and its whole reason for being is to be a meeting point, a place to spark cultural cooperation, to let artists from all over showcase their incredible expertise, and just build new partnerships in the arts.
And get this, we're not talking about just a handful of countries. This festival brings together artists and creatives from 25 different African nations. Just think about that for a second. That's a huge platform for conversation, for sharing ideas, and for building a real sense of shared identity.
Okay, so when you step back and look at all these pieces together, the agriculture, the energy, the culture, what's the big picture? What's the overall impact? Well, you start to see a really comprehensive strategy that's helping to weave a whole new narrative for Africa.
And it's important to remember, what we've talked about is really just the tip of the iceberg. The partnerships are broad. We focused on agriculture and energy, but the investments also go deep into other critical areas, like health and education. All of those fundamental building blocks for a thriving society.
And I think this table does a great job of just laying it all out nice and simple. You can see the clear line connecting each investment to a real-world outcome. Agriculture projects lead to better food security, energy investments create jobs, cultural events create deeper understanding. It's all very intentional and human-centered.
So when you add it all up, this really isn't just about individual projects.
This multi-layered approach, built on practical cooperation and mutual benefit, is firmly positioning Egypt as an absolutely essential partner in Africa's path forward.
And that really leaves us with the big question to think about. When you see these models of cooperation working in farming, in energy, in the arts, it really makes you wonder, how can these kinds of partnerships truly reshape the future of the entire continent? It's a powerful thought to end on.